Hey everyone, Phase 1 of Season of Discovery is now over. Phase 2 is finally here, and everyone's goal for the next few weeks or months will be to get their main or alt characters to level 40 as fast as possible. I just finished getting my first character to level 40, and I learned many different things on the way which I wish I knew and that could have saved me a lot of time and hassle. So today, I'll be sharing those with you. Whether you're new to the game or already an experienced player, this video will contain many different tips and tricks that will help you level any character you want to level 40 as quickly and as easily as possible. So today we're gonna talk about 12 important leveling tips that will help you all throughout your journey in Season of Discovery, and which will shave off hours worth of leveling time for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, let's talk about waylaid supplies. Real quick, if you don't know what these are, in Season of Discovery, while leveling, you will come across these waylaid supply boxes that drop randomly from mobs around the world. The good news in Phase 2 is that you now can carry as many as 12 on you. The bad news is you can't turn them in without filling them anymore. But most importantly, they now give experience on turn in. How much experience you receive depends on the tier of the crate you looted. Different mobs drop different tiers of waylaid supplies depending on the level of the mob that dropped it. But simply put, no matter what crate you get, you should definitely look into filling it as it rewards a lot of experience. At level 35, for example, these crates will now give as much as 1500 XP, which is like half a quest worth of XP. Obviously, some crates are more expensive to fill than others, so use your better judgment based on how much gold you have and how much the items the crate is asking for are worth. But generally speaking, you should always be looking to fill those and turn them in as much as you can. So yeah, keep those waylaid supplies in one corner of your bags, and on your next trip to your capital city, fill them up, turn them in, and enjoy the nice amount of XP they provide. Next up, we have the Cozy Sleeping Bag. This is an item that was added in Phase 2 and that allows you to get up to a 3% bonus XP buff while sleeping in it for 3 minutes. Each minute spent gives you 1%. This is obtainable through a long quest line that will take you all around the world. You can look through Wowhead to see how to get this done, because this could be a video of its own. But basically, you want to do this as you're leveling. Each quest in this quest line has a minimum level requirement of 14, and it starts in Westfall or the Barrens. But the last quest takes place between Hillsbrad Foothills and the Rathi Highlands, the latter of which is a level 35 to 40 zone. You don't need to wait all the way till 35 to do this quest line, because every quest is level 14 minimum, so you could do all of this at level 14 if you really wanted. You would have to do a few corpse runs though once you get to the higher level zones like Arathi and Stone Talon, but it's up to you when you want to complete this. Personally, I would do it ASAP to take full advantage of this buff. Plus, the whole quest line gives a lot of XP on its own. Oh, and also, you can use other players' sleeping bags if you group up with them. Just thought of mentioning that. Next up, we have Ghetto Hearthing. This is a godsend, especially in Classic where your Hearthstone takes a whopping 1 hour to recharge. In SOD, and in Classic in general, you'll often find yourself wanting to Hearth, but your Hearthstone is still on cooldown. Here's a tip that could save you a long trip back to your Hearthstone location. If you're near a dungeon, say in Stormwind or Orgrimmar for example, step inside said dungeon and use this macro. You'll find it in the description of this video. You might need to spam it a couple times before it works, but what this basically will do is it will give you this timer on your screen, and after 1 minute, you'll be teleported to your Hearthstone location for free. I took Stokeades and Ridgefire Chasm as an example for this, but obviously there's dungeons all around the world, so look for one that's closer to you if you need to do this. Also related to this, since the max level is 40 now, this means mages can finally get portals at 40, only to Stormwind/Orgrimmar and Ironforge/Undercity, but keep that in mind and ask a mage for a portal if you're going to or around those locations. Next, leveling add-ons. Right away, this is not sponsored at all, but having a leveling add-on is very useful and will save you a lot of time and hassle on your way to 40, because you can just follow an arrow, read the instructions, and forget about everything else. Personally, I use Zygor, which is very good, but it's also quite expensive in my opinion, $10 per month. There's also Rested XP, which is not a subscription, but a one-time purchase of $25 or $35 for SOD, depending on if you want one or both faction guides. Both these add-ons are equally good in my opinion. and they will get you to max level quite efficiently. But if you don't want to spend any money, there's also Guideline, which is a free add-on. The paid add-ons usually have better leveling routes than Guideline, but either option you choose will get you to max level eventually. Another add-on I could never go without while leveling is obviously Questy. This will show you the location of all quests close to your level around the world. When I talked about Zygo, Rested XP, and Guideline, those provide you with a leveling route, but you could make your own route as you go by just using Questy. Another very good use for Questy is that now it shows runes for your class on your map. We will talk more about runes in a minute, but that's another very good reason to get Questy. And of course, the last add-on that I could never go without while leveling is Leatrix Plus. This has a ton of different features, but the ones I find myself using the most while leveling are the auto gray item selling and auto repair feature, the faster auto loot, and most importantly, the enhanced quest log feature. The default quest log in Classic WoW really sucks. Leatrix makes it look 10 times better by showing your full quest log and also the level of the quests you have accepted. There's still more add-ons to talk about, and I could make a video just talking about that, which I will do in the future, so subscribe to not miss that. But for now, let's move on to our next tip. Tip number 4, consumables. Consumables can shave off a lot of time from your leveling journey, either by making you kill mobs much faster, or also saving you from a certain death. Let's talk about that first. Healing potions and mana potions in Season of Discovery are very cheap on the auction house, barely over vendor price. So you should always have 1 or 2 stacks of each ready to use in case you're about to die or run out of mana. Or just chug them after killing every other mob to not have to sit down and eat or drink. I found myself using those a lot on my way to 40 since they're so cheap. Other than that, you also have actual offensive consumables like elixirs of strength, agility, or even spell power. Those are also very cheap thanks to us being stuck at level 25 for so long, and the supply being so high right now compared to the demand. So same thing applies here. Buy them, use them, and see your leveling speed increase thanks to them. Next up, runes. Runes are probably the biggest boost to your character's power, not just for endgame content, but also while leveling, and you should definitely go out of your way to collect them as you go. We talked about Questy earlier. As of the time of writing this video, Questy shows the location of all Phase 1 runes in the game on your map. It should get updated very soon with Phase 2 runes, but that's an easy way for you to know what's around and go and collect it. In the meantime though, Wowhead has a very nice article containing all the different class rune location guides on it, and I'm assuming that they will make a handy cheat sheet very soon to have everything in one spot. But yeah, basically, if you're leveling, keep runes in mind and go out of your way to obtain them as you get around their location. Next, world buffs. World buffs can make a big difference when it comes to leveling, as they make your character so much stronger, especially if you're stacking them. And that's never been easier thanks to the Chrono Boon Displacer being so cheap and obtainable everywhere. The 2 world buffs that are available in Phase 2 are the Boon of the Black Fathom, which drops in Darnassus or Thunder Bluffs, and the Spark of Imagination, which drops in Ironforge or Orgrimmar. I wouldn't go around the world every time one expires to get them. However, you should always keep a Chrono Boon Displacer in your bags, and when you're in either of those cities, wait for a few minutes and you should see one dropping. Put it in your Chrono Boon and unboon it before you next start killing monsters. That will go a long way in making you both stronger and faster. Speaking of killing monsters, if you're doing a quest that only requires you to kill X amount of mobs, you should always look to group up with other players around doing the same quest. I see this happen all the time, where people are competing for the same mobs for tens of minutes, when they could have shaved the time it took by half by just grouping up. Of course, grouping up decreases the amount of XP you get per mob kill, but that doesn't matter because the time you save by grouping up is so much more than the amount of time it takes to get the XP by killing those mobs in the first place. And you can always go grind later on mobs that are less contested if you really need that XP. So really, group up as much as you can. Next up, let's talk about bank alts. While leveling in SOD and in Classic in general, you should always have a bank alt to throw all the items you come across to. You'll notice your bags tend to get full quite fast. Instead of wasting tens of minutes of your time sorting out your bags, throwing away and probably vendoring expensive stuff, you could instead just just make a bank alt and throw any non-BOP items to them through the mail, and then worry about all of that once you're level 40 instead. That's just one less thing to worry about while leveling. Small bonus tip related to this, it's worth mentioning that in SOD, mail is still not instant between alts. It takes 1 hour for any item you send through the mail to arrive. However, once it arrives to your bank alt, you don't actually need to pick it up and then send it again. You could just click return instead, and that will send the mail back to your main, and most importantly, it will be instant. So make sure to use this feature. Speaking of bags, here's a small tip that you're probably already taking advantage of, but in case you're not, if you have an authenticator on your account, you'll receive 4 additional bag slots on your main backpack. 4 bag slots could seem like not much, but especially at lower levels, this is truly a godsend. So do take advantage of it. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Next up, spell ranks. So in Classic, you unlock new ranks of spells every even level. For example, at level 28 you unlock a new spell, but at 29 you won't, at level 30 you will, and so on and so forth. And new ranks of spells, especially offensive spells, are really important to get as soon as possible. If you're a mage, for example, getting a new rank of Frostbolt is really gonna boost your damage big time, and you should definitely go out of your way to go to a capital city to train it ASAP. Now the thing is, not every other level will unlock spells that are worth stopping what you're doing to get them, or even getting them at all ever. For example, level 14 for Hunters unlocks Eagle Eye, Eyes of the Beast, and Scare Beast, none of which are really important to get, at least not right away in the case of Eagle Eye. Basically, look for what you unlocked on Wowhead and use your better judgment on whether you should go to a capital city ASAP or not, but definitely look to get those strong offensive spells the minute you can train them. Speaking of spells, here's a mini tip again. If you're like me and you always forget to update your spell ranks on your bars, you should start making /cast macros for them and use the macros instead. Doing a /cast macro followed by a spell name will always use the highest rank of said spell. Of course, this is only useful for caster classes. Warriors and rogues have their spells update automatically no matter what. And finally, here's a tip that I want you to apply right now. If you've been playing through phase 1 and have a bunch of characters at level 25 and haven't logged on them since phase 2 released, go ahead and log in on each one of those right now and just log off again. The reason for this is because for some reason, rested experience doesn't start building up until you log in on those characters. This is actually a tip that you can apply to any version of WoW after any expansion releases or any patch drops that increases maximum level, like in the case of Season of Discovery. So remember that and do it now if you haven't already. And that's about everything I have for you today. I hope you found those tips useful and that they will help you get to level 40 quickly and smoothly. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like and subscribe, as there will be much more content like this in the future. My name is Numidia and I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.